Well, welcome to our free Fatherhood and Masterclass series. Whether you're a new dad who's feeling lost, a seasoned dad struggling with teens, or a stressed out dad in the thick of toddlers and school age kids, this is the training for you. My name is Drew Solon, and I'm the director for Dad Central Ontario and the founder of Connected Dads, a coaching and training organization helping dads show up at their best for the people who matter most. Now, I've been working with dads directly with dads since 2019, but I'm also a dad to 5 kids from 12 years old to 6 weeks old. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be a dad and consider it my most important role. So, this is the first in a series of 4 trainings where I'll be teaching you the critical skills that help solve the top challenges dads face. Now, why am I so excited about this free training? And why is it so important? Because we hear the same thing over and over again from dads. There are no dedicated resources for us. And we know from research that we completed in 2020 that Canadian dads care about their fatherhood role and they want to be positively involved in the lives of their children. The problem is, most dads feel like there is nowhere they can go for help. Now, this was true back in 2009 when Dad Central launched its first fatherhood support program called Super Dad, Super Kids. And unfortunately, it's still true today. Thankfully, we have the answer for dads and are using this free series to do 2 things. One, we're equipping dads with the skills they need to be a great dad. And 2, we're showing dads how and where to get the support that they need to survive. So, are you a dad who feels stressed, tired, and or overwhelmed at times? Do you find yourself yelling at your kids more than you want to? Do you wonder if you're doing it right? Or are you finding it hard to communicate or co-parent with your children's mother? Are you feeling like there's no community or resources or even social supports for someone like you? Now, if anything I said resonated with you, then at a minimum, you need this free training. Of course, I'm biased, but I also think you need to get connected to a community of like-minded dads. And even if you don't join a community of like-minded dads, which we're about to launch in our brand new program designed specifically for dads like you called Dad Mentor, then this training will help. And a reminder, it's totally free to you. So the goal of this training series is to show you the critical knowledge and skills you need to be a positively involved dad. We'll cover 2 important topics in part 1 of our series. The 6 needs that every child has and how dads can provide them. And secondly, the amazingly positive impact that dads have on kids' growth and development when they get involved. So, let's get started. Once upon a time, a father's job was really to bring home a paycheck, cut the grass and tell his kids they were misbehaving. Maybe kind of like this guy here. These days, although some fathers are still playing more or less that same role, many others are changing diapers. They're going to toddler gymnastics. They're getting kids ready for school, and they are looking after their children while their partners are at work. It seems like a father could be a lot of different things. So how do you decide what kind of fatherhood role is best for you? The best way is to start by thinking about what children need. And in particular, children need many things from their children, but let's break it down into the main pieces. So, children need the necessities of life, human interaction, care and comfort, warmth and love, guidance and protection, and to be important to someone. So all of these relate to the different roles that fathers and mothers play in their lives. So now let's look at each one and how dads can play those specific role in your child's life. So, number 1, the provider father. He's for the necessities of life. So as we said, this used to be a father's main role, and it's still important. If kids don't get the basics, food, clothing, and shelter, some of the other things we're going to talk about won't seem to matter much. And although nowadays many mothers as well as fathers provide for their children, it's still true that kids who don't have a father making a financial contribution are more likely to be poor. So, working at a job which contributes to the family's economic well-being is a very important part of fatherhood. Next, we have the interactive father, and this is for human interaction. So, of course, children are people and they learn how to be people through human interaction. And that begins with parents, starting right from birth. Kids learn communication skills, social rules, and values of their culture and or religion by interacting with their parents and by watching parents interact with others. So they need to be with us as much as possible. They need us to talk to them, to play with them, and make them a part of our world. Next, we have the nurturing father for care, comfort. Now, we hear a lot these days about how important it is to stimulate growing brains, but being smart doesn't count for much if kids aren't looked after and if they don't feel good on the inside. Nurturing means helping someone or something to grow. In fact, it's been shown that if babies aren't held, they aren't stroked, and if they aren't touched, they don't develop normally. So when you look after babies, changing their diapers, comforting them, feeding them, giving them baths in a warm and loving way, you can't help but give them the kind of nurturing touch that they need. So this is important, dads. Your physical touch is very important right from the beginning. And of course, in that warm, loving way, gently, and according to your child's needs is very important. Next, we have the affectionate father. This is for warmth and love. Another part of parenthood is being in a relationship. Because it is your child's first relationship, it is very important and needs to be filled with love and warmth. Fathers express affection in many ways. Hugs, smiles, kisses are the obvious ones, but this warmth is also expressed in the way you talk to your children, play with them, and reassure them when they're upset. I think it's been said that a father's voice becomes the child's inner voice. So you want to make sure that that voice you're using is warm, is kind, is loving, and it's a way that's going to build them up and not tear them down. Next, we have the responsible father for guidance and protection. Obviously, if you are a dad of young children, you know young children need lots of guidance. Fathers need to share the responsibility for protecting and teaching them. We protect our children by providing safe homes, supervising them carefully, ensuring they get proper medical care, and making sure they are well cared for when we aren't with them. Parents are also a child's first and most important teachers. We teach kids what to do and what not to do. We also show them the world and how it works and help them pursue their interests. Next, we have the committed father for being important to someone. Now, along with everything else, kids need to know that they belong and that they are the most important thing in the world to somebody. That's you, Dad. This commitment is something you need to communicate to your children through your words, but also by the way you relate to them when you are with them. It also involves a consciousness that stays with you all the time. You think of your children when you are away from them, you talk about them with your friends. No matter what else you may be doing, on some level, you're always aware that you are a father. And so, fathers can play all of these roles, but so can mothers. Now, exactly who does what for the kids will be a little different in every family. It doesn't have to be a perfect 50-50 split, but the point is that children can get what they need from both parents. In the past, dads have tended to concentrate on providing, playing and teaching, leaving nurturing mainly to mothers. And we've tended to think that women are better at this. Well, there may be an instinct to nurture, but it's mostly something that you learn through experience. Men can learn this too, and most who try discover that it's one of the best parts of being a parent. One of the things I think it's important that we share is yes, it is important you understand each of those six roles, but it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. Excuse me, having some issues with my slides. And so it's not really enough to say, teach your children or hug them or play with them, because you can do all these things well or do them in a way that's not right for your child. How do you know what approach will be best for your individual child? The key is to ultimately know your child. Watch them and just wait. Watch for how your child reacts and wait for them to show you what they are interested in. One baby may laugh when you make a silly noise. Another may startle and burst into tears. One preschooler may want lots of hugs when he's sad. Another may want you close by, but not touching them. Attentive parenting is not an instinct. It's something you learn. By paying attention to your child, it's an education which never really ends since children keep changing as they grow. So the role you play as a father in your family will depend on what your children are like, what you and your partner are like, and the type of work you both do. Here I'm going to stop and share a personal story that I think really illustrates this. I'm a father to twins, twin 10-year-olds. And as much as they are identical twins, genetically the same, I've always been fascinated at their unique differences. And when we think about watching children and waiting, one approach with one of my twins works beautifully. The same approach elicits a very different response in the other twin. And so, confusing as that might be, the reality is that even with identical twins, there are differences in how we need to watch and wait and learn and respond to our children. So, absolutely, I couldn't agree more how important that is. So, it really does all start with what your children need. And the more attention you pay to all of their needs, the less you'll be ultimately asking, what's my role? So now that you're clear on what children need, it's time to share our brief highlight of the difference dads make in the lives of children. So did you know that dads play a critical role helping build healthy kids and families? In 2020, we partnered with noted researcher Dr. Jessica Ball at the University of Victoria to examine the most current research on fathers. Over 245 studies from 2015 to 2019 were reviewed, mostly in North America, UK, and New Zealand. And ultimately, what we found, the work was so valuable that the Public Health Agency of Canada commissioned us to translate the findings into infographics for the public. So as you can see here on this slide, fathers are so important for children. When dads are positively involved, kids' social and emotional wellness, their academic achievement, their physical health, and eventually their adjustment to becoming parents themselves are all improved. Now, I think this quote speaks volumes to the value of fathers in changing the future of our country and world, and the importance of a father in the life of every child. And this is from Grand Chief Ed John, who gave this comment at the BC First Nations Summit. It says, fathers may very well be the greatest untapped resource in the lives of Indigenous children. If we could support them to get involved and stay connected with their children, that would be a big protective factor for these youngsters as they grow up. So clearly, people are starting to see the importance of dads. We also know dads are looking for ways to be involved, to improve their parenting skills, to juggle the responsibilities of the changing landscape of work, family, gender expectations, societal norms, and the list goes on. But as we've mentioned, and I've heard directly from dads, there isn't much support designed for dads. There are even less places for dads. So lots of work still to be done. But dads, we've got this. And we know that you've got this. Where there is a will, there is a way, and you're doing great work despite the challenges and lack of resources. And because you're so involved and willing to take on the challenge of parenthood, we know you'll achieve your goals. That's why we're giving you this free training and developing practical tools to meet you where you're at in the dad journey. So now at this point, the big questions that come up are, number one, I'm working hard, but it feels like I can't keep up with the demands of work, family, and my health. Something always gets sacrificed. And number two, okay, that's great that I can provide all those things and I can fill those 6 roles. But now it feels like I have even more to do. How can I keep taking on more and still have a life? I know these questions come up because they are the same questions I've asked over the years. Remember, I've got 5 kids and at one point had 3 kids under the age of 3 years old. I've been through the grinder and know the weight can feel unbearable at times. I also know that there is a way to take back control of your time, energy, and peace of mind. And it's not as hard as you think. And all it takes is understanding a few important principles and then applying simple, proven practices. So, in the next training, I'll be sharing proven principles from John Maxwell that will help you find a balance between caring for your children, your partner, and your work. Get ready to make a significant impact with the practical advice and actionable strategies for managing responsibilities. So, now, before I send you training number 2, or before we release it on June 10th, I'd like to know more about you. What does being a dad mean to you? How important would it be to have more support and resources for your dad journey? Please go ahead and put a comment below so we can show the world what positive, involved fathers we have in our community. We'd also like to know if you'd like more information about our brand new community, Dad Mentor. This is going to be a game changer for dads who want to meet like-minded dads and get practical, easy to apply parenting, relationship, and dad life resources. Please leave a comment. People need to hear from you dads, and we want to help you get your voices heard. And of course, if you like this training and found it useful, we'd appreciate you sharing it with others. Remember, dads matter, and I'll see you in part 2.